Hello, hello, hello. Today is August 10, and 3 days ago I posted the solutions to problem 69. I noticed, which I have already done for many years, that when I turn on my outside light, that the tracks of insects are blinking. I have always assumed that that was the result of the fact that my light source is powered 60 Hz AC. And so, every 120th of a second, the light, or I should say, the voltage is a maximum. Plus 120 volts times the square root of 2, forget the square root of 2, minus 120 volts. And 120 times per second is the current zero. And so I always assumed that the blinking is a stroboscopic effect caused by my outdoor lamp. I want to redo the solutions because several people, including largely the guy whose name is Igu, forcefully, politely, but very forcefully made the point that it couldn't be my outdoor light because my outdoor light is halogen, incandescent. And of course I never overlooked the fact that it was quite bizarre. But I'll show you my reasons why I still believed, in spite of the fact that the physics made no sense, why I still believed that the blinking was 120 Hz, and thus caused by the light source. So watch this video, and you will see how my thinking has evolved. And you will also see then that there are some amazing coincidences which are not so easy to explain. But the bottom line is that I have to agree that the blinking is not the result of 120 Hz light fluctuations of my outdoor light. So if you're ready, let's go over it again. I have seen these blinking tracks of flying insects for years, naked eye. I want you to understand, I saw them with my eyes. So many of you who suggest that it is an artifact of my camera, it has to do with shutter speed. No, my camera has nothing to do with it. I see it with my eyes. So that's point number one. Now, as a physicist, I do know that there are lights that blink. If you call it blinking, 120 Hz. Incandescent lights don't do that, hardly any at all, but it's well known from fluorescent lights. And LEDs do it in a large extent. So I have always assumed over all those years that I have seen these insects tracks blink, that I had a fluorescent light outside. I knew it wasn't an LED light because when that light was installed, I know I didn't select an LED, but I assumed it was a fluorescent light. There was never any doubt in my life that I had a fluorescent light outside. What counts in this case is what's called the flicker index. You see here a picture of a fluctuating light output of a lamp. Doesn't have to be sinusoidal, but I have a sinusoidal line here, fluctuation. And so this is 0. This is at maximum light and this is the minimum light. So what counts is what's called the flicker index. I have here drawn a line. It's a sinusoid, but it could be anything else, whereby the light intensity reaches a maximum and it reaches a minimum and then it reaches a maximum again and so on. Then the flicker index is defined as the area, so this is 0 light, as the area under here divided by the area under 1 plus 2. That is flicker index. And that's what counts. What counts is not necessarily this divided by this. What you experience, if you do see a blinking, it's really the flicker index, which is the leading index that you need to know. This flicker index for incandescent lights is about 0.02. 0.02. In other words, if you multiply this by 100, it would be 2%. For fluorescent lights, this can vary between 10 and 15%. And for LEDs, it can be as high as 44%. So clearly, incandescent lamps cannot produce this blinking phenomenon. So therefore I assumed, without ever even doubting it for a millisecond, that my outdoor light was fluorescent. And when I posted the problem, I had never even looked closely at that light. But when I did the solutions, I did look closely at the light, and I noticed that it was a halogen lamp. And it puzzled me no end, because I knew, of course, that halogen lamps are incandescent, and a flicker index of 2% is not enough to explain the phenomenon that you saw on the video. I studied individual images very closely and still sort of was persuaded that for some bizarre reasons it was the light source that was doing it. And I will go over that with you again. And you may want to watch the first solution. Then you will see how, in a very coherent way, I conclude that, yeah, it's 120 Hertz due to the light source. I published it. When I recorded my solutions, I was thinking about mentioning how bizarre it is that incandescent lights can do that, because it's against some basic physics. But I decided not to do that because I really felt that there was no other reasonable explanation than that the 120 Hertz was the blinking of the light source. Igu, one of my viewers, forcefully but very politely pointed out right away that it couldn't be the result of the light source because he says it's halogen, it's incandescent, it's out of the question. Yeah, I also was puzzled, but I left it alone for a day. There were others who mentioned it too, Hans Lepoeder, Dutchman, and Mike Soupis, I don't know exactly how to pronounce his name. And I had discussions with some of you, also with John Walker. But the first person who really forcefully said, Walter, it's out of the question. So, if it is not the lamp, which it isn't, I agree. The flicker index is 2%, it's out of the question. Then the only thing that is left over is that it is the frequency of the wings of the insects. Now, before I posted my solutions, my first solutions, trust me, I checked carefully the frequencies of the wings of insects. And they vary a lot. They can be as low as 30 Hertz, they can be as high as 500 Hertz. And so since I have many different flies in my garden, I would expect it then to see, if the wings were responsible, many different frequencies, many different flies, many different frequencies. So I did not overlook the possibility of wings, but I rejected it. Let's now look at some individual tracks, individual frames, I should say. So this frame is one frame of my video recorder. The length of this frame I tried to find on the web. Could be 1/15th of a second, it could be 1/20th of a second, or something in between. Now, if it is 1/20th of a second, let's take that for now, and if these blinks I do 220 Hertz of my light source, then you expect about 6 blinks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, all 4 insects show the same frequency. And if it is the result of the light source, you would expect about 5, maybe 6 blinks. And that's what you see. Let's go to another one. It was the same video of the problem. So this again is an integration of about roughly 1/20th of a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So again, all of them have the same frequency. That's what you would expect if the light source is responsible. Are all these insects the same insects? That is an amazing coincidence because, believe me, the garden is full of different insects. Now there is the possibility that it is a selection effect. Namely, that only those insects which have the frequency that you see here, which is about 100 Hertz, could be 80, could be 150, but it is in that range of some 100 Hertz, that those have just the right geometry for their wings to reflect the light. So that is possible that it's a selection effect, and therefore that I don't see any other insects which have fewer blinks or which have many more blinks, if the wings are really responsible, and they have to be. It's the only option that we have, must be the wings. Check. So there is nothing more that I can add. The light outside is not incandescent, it's not fluorescent, it's incandescent, and therefore what you see here and what you saw in the previous frame must be due to wings. Here's an interesting picture, which I also show in the first solution. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again 5 blinks in about 120ths of a second. Oh, again the frequency is close to 100 Hertz and consistent with 120 Hertz. Yet it cannot be the result of my incandescent lamp. It really is incandescent. I have taken close-up pictures of it, there is no doubt. It is incandescent. I was hoping to rescue my first solutions that maybe my light source was what's called a metal halide lamp, which is fluorescent. And there are some that I watched online that really look very similar to what I have outside. But no, I don't think my light outside is a metal halide. Metal halide would have a flicker index easily of 12, 13, 15%. That would be a fluorescent lamp. Okay. Last night I took another video, and they didn't fly very fast, the insects, maybe because of weather conditions. Here you see a remarkable, very slow moving one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 blinks. 5 is the holy grail here. Yeah. Slow moving, 5 blinks. Consistent with 120 Hertz, but it's not my incandescent light. It must be the wings. It's the frequency of the wings. What is actually remarkable when you look at this picture, how bizarre these lines are. But of course, even though my camera did not produce this frequency, the camera may have an effect on the shape that you see. That is quite possible. Here, for instance, in the bottom one, you clearly see that the insect has a finite size, that 2 parts of the body reflect the light at maximum, because you see 2 dots next to each other. But this is, of course, 1 blink, second one, third, fourth, fifth. Okay. I want to thank Igu and all the others for so forcefully saying, look, it cannot be your incandescent light bulb, and I have to agree. I didn't publish my solution lightly. I gave it thought. It was against my instincts, but I did it. And so there was a certain blindness that I had, that I suppressed my knowledge of physics, and that I surrendered to the amazing pictures whereby I always saw 5 blinks. So, thank you Igu, thank you Hans Leputer, thank you John Wilkers, thank you Mike Suppi, and if there are others who mentioned this to me, which could well be, I'm not leaving your names out purposely, it's just that I don't remember. But the bottom line is then, the blinking in the trajectories are the result of the wings flapping up and down, and that the reflection of my light source therefore sometimes sees a larger area of the insect and sometimes a smaller area, and that is the result of these bizarre tracks. Okay? So, this is the correct solution. I will not delete the previous one, but this one is correct and the previous one is wrong. So now maybe you don't want to be friends with me anymore, and I don't blame you. In any case, have a nice day. Take care. And have a nice vacation left over if you have one.